career or your built-in could be a risk associated with the account. Now, this risk will show up everywhere. It will show up in the Azure AD Directory. It will show up in the user entity. So you will see that like in Pusto when you're looking into the actual entities. I will just use the term logs because it's just commonly used. But you will actually see it, like it will show up. So it's important to understand how to remediate it, right? So talk about that. Now, while user risk is an overall risk, there is a sign-in risk, which is, you can think about it more like a proactive risk analysis. So you're signing in into an application, maybe just checking email on Exchange Online, or you're basically just accessing your apps portal or SharePoint. Basically, you're doing some activity, right, that you're tracking, that you want to be tracked by the Active Directory. So it will basically going to look at the sign-in, and there is a range of risk, and this list usually grows over time. So it is a snapshot in time right now from their own doc, from Microsoft documentation. But the idea is that you are looking at it holistically, right? So there's a range of properties here that you see. So unfamiliar sign-in properties, like you're signing in that doesn't really match your history. So maybe your browser is completely different, like you're now signing in with an automated browser. Seems like maybe there is some threat to that. Then it will pick up like that. Atypical travel is like, I'm in New York, then I'm suddenly in Dallas within like a few seconds, and that seems unnatural, so it will be atypical travel, and so on and so forth. But the point is that you basically get this into the system. So what do you do with that, right? So what you do is that you have two remediations. I think we talked about it yesterday, quite a bit about it, that we have a self-remediation flow where the user actually, administrator set up the risk policies in a way that user, when they're signing in, they will actually perform some action, right? It can be MFA. MFA will remediate sign-in risk. MFA with the password reset is password reset is required to actually reset the user risk. So basically, there's a self-remediation, and then there's an administrator-based remediation, right? What happens if user doesn't have a capability? Maybe their internet access is down. Maybe they don't have the email or the authenticator available to them, right? So in that particular case, the administrator will need to go in and perform the remediation actions, right? So keep in mind that one is like very proactive and one is more reactive, like admin is going in and do their job based on some incident or based on some support ticket, whatever it is, they're performing something on top of that. So I will briefly show you the sign-in, like the risk policy, and then how it blends in. So I'm going to talk about that for a few minutes, and then basically we're going to conclude on that one. So let me see. There's some questions here popping up. So let me see if there's a question. It's a little slow today for some reason. Here we go. It's right now. Okay, so we are back here. Just to remind everyone, this is my tenant here. I'm signing in, Contoso INC, and then we're going to, let's scroll down the security. Now here, what you can do as an admin is you can go in and look at all the risks. So you'll see all the risks that are coming in. These are like a sign-in risk coming in, or any risk that are detected will be here. But if you're doing some active sign-ins or testing, basically this is a good place to start. You can see that Adam tried to sign in earlier today. I was just testing it out with a Tor browser. So you can see that there are risks associated with it. And then this is our risky users, right? So Sarah, it has a high risk right now because she never remediated her risk. Adam is on the medium because he did. If you go and watch the session from yesterday, we managed to remediate his risk earlier because he have a self-remediation, I will talk about now. But she, like Sarah, didn't, right? We actually dismissed using the option over here. So there's an option here. Dismiss the user risk. And when you do that, in few minutes, you have your user risk back to what I call like a removed, basically. So it will be none. So it will just be showing a dash over here. But the thing is that because she's back now, because she's doing some activity, if you look at it, there are a lot of activities happening, and today, so again, it was initially medium, and then it went back to high. So this is basically how it works. Like when you sign in, and things are relatively riskier, then it will be medium, and then if you continue that without any remediation, the user would be put at the high risk. Now, when the user is at high risk, the only way to remove any risk actually in this user risk is to basically perform the password reset. So that's the way that it works. So how do you actually supposed to do it, right? We just did it with the administrative flow. For the actual self-remediation, you need to create a custom access policy. Now, this is actually a topic that is not like in detail covered in the exam, so I'm not going to spend too much time. I actually reviewed closely these skills. But I want you to be aware of it because that's the way the self-remediation works. Now, what you can do in the condition access policy is a sort of like, it's like a rabbit hole, right? So if you're preparing for SC300 exam, then it makes more sense to go into detail. But for this exam, I'll just go through it and save time for other things. But I will show you how like it works at high level, right? So you have this policy created for Adam. You can basically target all users or some users. In this case, it's for Adam, just for testing. And then you basically have to select all cloud apps. So this is a requirement if you wanted to remediate a user risk. And then what you do is that you say, well, I wanted to grant the access. Grant access just means that allowing access for the user to access the application, but I want them to change their password. Now, the password change happens with the MFA, so you want both. So you want them to first verify and assure us that their identity is the true identity. So this additional factor helps, and then they will be resetting the password. Now, the reality is that if you, for some reason, there's no conditional access policy, but they do have a self-service password reset, like they just go and have a password reset through that means, then that will eventually bring the risk down. So the bottom line here is that the user risk will be eliminated.